Right, so I can now take you to Parliament Live now, where the Speaker of Parliament is addressing members.
I will be traveling outside the country on Tuesday, 11th June 2024, to Nassau, Bahamas, at the invitation of the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, Honorable Philip E. Davis, KC, MP, and Professor Benedict Urama, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Afro-Exim Bank, to participate in the 31st meetings of the bank, scheduled to be held from 12th to 14th of June 2024. I will depart Nassau on Friday, 14th June 2024, to Switzerland at the invitation of the President of the Swiss Confederation, His Excellency Violo Ahmed, to participate in the first summit on peace in Ukraine from 15th to 16th June 2024. I will then return to Accra on 16th June 2024. During my absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahumudu Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 68 of the Constitution, act in my stead. Yours sincerely, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I will today, instead of a formal communication, say a few words of welcome of honorable members from the recess. Honorable members, welcome from a long and eventful recess to the third meeting of the fourth session of the 8th Parliament of the Fourth Republic of Ghana. I know you are still busily engaged in your constituencies, mobilizing your constituents for the ongoing voter transfers and proxy application exercise, which the Electoral Commission is processing. Having been part of this business for a long time, I can appreciate the weight of the responsibilities on you and the demands on your person and resources. Despite this stress, I know it is a process that most of you would have loved to see completed before returning to the House to continue with plenary session. Unfortunately, national parliamentary duty calls. Neither me nor you can say no. I had to summon Parliament, and I am grateful you dutifully complied to the summons. Some of you who couldn't make it at your party primaries are also planning and putting in place strategies to sustain life after Parliament, while members who fortunately have received the mandate of the voters and their parties to contest the December 2024 elections are also engaged in campaign activities. This meeting is thus tight and challenging. That notwithstanding, Parliament is called upon to consider some critical legislation, motions, agreements, and oversight responsibilities to deepen the democratic culture and to ensure a smooth transition to the 9th Parliament of the Fourth Republic of Ghana. The agenda of this meeting, therefore, includes urgent legislations for consideration. These are, and I'll just mention a few, the Affirmative Action Gender Equality Bill 2023. Committee, this week, we want the report to be presented and laid. You have no excuse. This time around, you have no excuse. 2, Constitution of the Republic of Ghana Amendment Bill 2021. And the honorable member had a discussion with me today. He is ready to proceed with it. 3, International Business or Economic Transactions Bill 2024. That is a very critical bill because the responsibility has been heaped on Parliament since the 1992 Constitution came into effect. And I think on the 7th of January 1993. Parliamentary Transition Bill is a very critical bill for this House, and we need to get it through so that they can have a better transitional arrangement put in place for the 9th Parliament of the 4th Republic. And the Budget Bill, as part of the 19 bills at various committee stages. And so we have 19 bills now that are under consideration. There are over 80 bills yet to be presented to the House. These may have to be considered in due course. We have 5 instruments before committees, 27 more instruments to be presented, 149 papers before various committees, 59 more to be presented, and some agreements lined up to be passed or approved. Copies of the agenda of the meeting will be given to every member of Parliament. This meeting is, however, proposed to end with the month of July, unless otherwise decided by the House. So by the end of July, we should be going back on recess, unless members here decide to continue. The weight of business to be considered by the House at this meeting is therefore clearly immeasurable. Honorable members, another important subject worthy of your careful consideration is law and governance. Thomas Jefferson tells us that, I want to quote him, "The care of human life and happiness, and not their distraction, is the first and only object of good government." Clearly, that is our mandate here as legislators. Our citizens deserve better, and we all must collectively unite to uphold their rights and safeguard their freedoms. I have therefore thought it wise to initiate an engagement of this House, led by my good self, with chairpersons of the Electoral Commission, the Media Commission, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, and the National Commission on Civic Education, to discuss how Parliament could collaborate and work with them to create the right and just environment for free, fair, peaceful, and credible elections. This, I believe, will inspire confidence in the process and faith in our democratic institutions. We will definitely not be doing this alone. We will include the President, the Council of State, the National Security Council, flag bearers, and national executives of various political parties. The security service, particularly the police, and I emphasize, particularly the police. We don't want to see military during election. When there is a need to call them, they will be called, but they should not be at polling or voting centers. Honorable members, the clergy and notable civil society leaders will be actively involved. The signs and signals of happenings in the country are not that of assurance and hope. I shudder when I'm told that people going to write their names carry knives, guns, just to go and write names. What about when we are going to vote? And at the end of it all, the results are announced, and somebody else has carried the day, and not the other. I shudder to picture what will happen. Apart from that, the joblessness, the homelessness, and the hopelessness of the youth cannot be taken lightly. We must act together and now to prevent a journey to calamity or to a journey of no return. Honorable members, as the English conductor Sir Thomas Beecham once noted, there are only 2 golden rules for an orchestra. You start together and you finish together. Let us, as a political class, start together and finish together. I didn't hear you. The public does not give a damn what goes on in between the starting together and finishing together. With this, it is clear that as representatives of the people, we have a significant amount of work ahead of us, and I therefore urge all members to patronize the work and ensure that we make progress on these important matters. I've given signal to the chairs of the constitutional commissions, and they are more than happy to engage with us. And the chairperson of the Electoral Commission has promised to be here anytime we want her, so we can talk and clarify issues. That is a very good signal. Honorable members, on this note, I welcome you to the 3rd meeting of the 4th session of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. You are welcome. We may take some sweetening words from our leaders as they lead us through this meeting. And so we will start from the minority leader and end up with the majority leader. Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm most grateful for the opportunity to make a statement, to welcome members and your good self to the commencement of the third meeting of the fourth session of the 8th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it feels so good to see everyone back. I'm grateful to the Lord Almighty for his protection over all of us. Mr. Speaker, kindly indulge me to bring to your notice and to the notice of the House some matters that require urgent national attention. These matters, Mr. Speaker, are worrying, and since they have the potential to disturb the peace and threaten the stability of the democracy. Mr. Speaker, this is particular so because if this is not checked, it can lead into the destruction of the democracy that we have all fought for. Mr. Speaker, prior to the last District Assembly elections, the NDC Minority Caucus raised concerns about the conduct of the Electoral Commission during the limited registration. This was because the Commission made terrible decisions that threatened the integrity of Ghana's electoral process. Mr. Speaker, this set the Electoral Commission on a coalition course with some political parties, civil society organizations, and potential first-time voters. In February 2023, the NDC minority had a cause to say that this Electoral Commission enjoys taking unwholesome decisions, being disruptive, fancies courting public disaffection, and enjoys being roundly condemned by right-thinking people. We said this at the time because the Electoral Commission had taken a decision to restrict first-time voters to register only at the offices of the Electoral Commission. That reckless decision had the potential to disenfranchise or deprive the vast majority of first-time voters the opportunity to have their names captured in the voter register. That decision by the Electoral Commission made the registration of new voters during the limited registration exercise very difficult, cumbersome, painful, and laborious for those who were qualified to register as voters. The decision of the Electoral Commission also imposed huge unplanned financial burden on members of Parliament, parliamentary candidates, and political parties. Persons who were registering for the first time were needlessly subjected to frustrations and great inconvenience, whilst members of Parliament were subjected to significant unplanned out-of-pocket expenditures. People had to travel long distances, Mr. Speaker, to the offices of the Electoral Commission, endure long delays from queues, and suffer the agony of broken down registration equipment and network failures. Mr. Speaker, one would have thought that the Electoral Commission would have learned lessons from the reckless decision that I have just recounted, which created chaos and confusion over the place. But no, Mr. Speaker, the Electoral Commission learned nothing from the past. These terrible decisions have just been repeated by the Electoral Commission in just ended voter registration, as well as the ongoing vote transfer exercise. Mr. Speaker, the Electoral Commission is making a simple electoral process very cumbersome, frustrating, expensive, Mr. Speaker, burdensome. These developments do not inspire hope in our electoral process. Rather, they give people and some political parties cause to question the integrity of the processes ahead of the 2024 general election. We are concerned, Mr. Speaker, that if these frustrating actions and decisions of the Electoral Commission is not checked, it can negatively impact the peace and stability of our democracy. Mr. Speaker, despite the Electoral Commission's earlier agreement with political parties at IPAC meetings to let the party agents monitor vote transfer, the Commission made a strange announcement banning party agents from the ongoing voter transfer and for them to be able to monitor the voter transfer. Again, Mr. Speaker, it took the strong pushback from the NDC and some civil society organizations and condemnations, Mr. Speaker, across the country for the Electoral Commission to retreat. These developments, Mr. Speaker, are unhealthy for our electoral process and democracy and go a long way to ground the public perception of bias on the part of this particular Electoral Commission. Mr. Speaker, why must this Electoral Commission always take questionable decisions which create chaos and confusion across the country? Why must this Electoral Commission always threaten the peace and stability of our dear democracy? Mr. Speaker, I may ask again, why must it take massive pushback from the public and backlash from the Electoral Commission to always do what is right for the people of Ghana? Mr. Speaker, whilst we acknowledge the Electoral Commission is an independent body, it must be pointed out in no uncertain terms to the Electoral Commission that it does not have the independence to make dangerous, ridiculous, and outrageous decisions that can affect the peace and stability of our country and its democracy. It is therefore imperative for Parliament to call the Electoral Commission to order and to save the democracy that we have always protected. Mr. Speaker, the NDC Minority Caucus want to use this forum to demand an urgent committee of the whole meeting with the Electoral Commission and to iron out these concerns before, Mr. Speaker, it is too late. Right Honorable Speaker, may I now move to another issue of considerable national interest. Mr. Speaker, only some few days ago, we woke up to a news of another scandal that this government has given out our 5G spectrum to a company or a new entity called the Next Gen Infraco Company Limited for the next 10 years. Mr. Speaker, under this deal, we were told that the Next Gen Infraco Limited has been given the exclusive right to build, own, and operate the entire 5G infrastructure network across the country for the use of all mobile network operators, internet service providers, and other interested entities. Interestingly, Mr. Speaker, the President granted executive approval for the Sweetheart deal on the 22nd of August 2023, barely 1 week after the company was incorporated on the 16th of August 2023. This arrangement, Mr. Speaker, are not transparent, was awarded without any competitive process whatsoever, and has not been subjected to parliamentary approval as required by Section 33 of the Public Financial Management Act 921, 2016. While conservative estimates suggest that the government could have raised between $250 million to $500 million upfront, this government is giving our national asset away at a paltry $6.25 million and 1% annual revenue per annum over a period of 10 years on a work and pay basis. Simply put, Mr. Speaker, Ghana will receive $42.2 million in present value terms, assuming cost of capital is 10%, for a national asset that could have cost us, that this nation could have raked in up to $500 million. Mr. Speaker, this deal does not deliver value for money. It has shortchanged the people of Ghana, Mr. Speaker, particularly at a time that Ghanaians need so much foreign exchange to cushion the currency, and also at a time that Ghana actually requires some form of non-tax revenue to take the burden of the taxpayer. The NDC minority has therefore flagged this transaction, Mr. Speaker, for further scrutiny, and we urge the government to do what is right and present the document before us for us to do justice with it before the agreement is actually signed. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the projections and statistics on the food situation in Ghana, Mr. Speaker, is grim. According to the World Food Program report that was issued in March 2024, more than 1 million Ghanaians are likely to face food insecurity between now and August. Mr. Speaker, for example, the price of a bucket of tomato, which was sold at 75 cedis at the beginning of this year, now sells at 180 Ghana cedis. This represents an increase of 140%. Mr. Speaker, the price of a crate of tomato increased by more than 360% between January and June this year alone, moving from 1,500 Ghana cedis to 7,000 Ghana cedis. In a matter of 1 week, Right Honorable Speaker, the price of a sack of onion jumped from 600 Ghana cedis to 1,050 Ghana cedis, an increase of nearly 100%. The Speaker, a sack of kokonte which was sold for 900 Ghana cedis in December 2023, now sells as 1,100 Ghana cedis. This means, Mr. Speaker, that within 5 months, the price of kokonte has gone up by 22.2%. A tuber of yam, Right Honorable Speaker, was sold at 25 Ghana cedis as of December 2023. It's now going for 30 Ghana cedis. This represents, again, another 20% increase in the price of yam. Right Honorable Speaker, high food prices are not the only challenges facing the people of Ghana, but food shrinkflation, where food vendors maintain their prices but reduce the quantity or the size of their portion, is also the new order of the day. I'm sure that those of you who have purchased in Kandokon or Gan KK recently will appreciate the food shrinkflation that I'm talking about. Mr. Speaker, the food is shrinking in size by the day, even though they claim the price is not increasing. Shrinkflation has become the order of the day as long as food is concerned. Mr. Speaker, in all honesty, the chroma is shit. Times are very hard and Ghanaians are really suffering. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm curious. I want to ask, what has happened to the billions of Ghana cedis approved by this House for the government's so-called flagship program, Planting for Food and Jobs? Where is the food and where are the jobs? Right Honorable Speaker, where are they planting for? Are they planting for high food inflation or they are planting for joblessness? Mr. Speaker, we are back. Trust us, the NDC Minority Caucus, to protect the interests of the people of Ghana. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
May we now listen to the Majority Leader.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to welcome colleagues from recess. I'd like to once again express my sincere appreciation and gratitude to your good self, Mr. Speaker, colleague members of the leadership, honorable members, the clerk to Parliament and staff of the Parliamentary Service for always rising up to the occasion and rallying to the national call whenever the House considers it necessary. I commend the Parliamentary Press Corps for their consistent coverage of the business of the House. Mr. Speaker, the sacrifices and dedication of your good self and officers of parliamentary service in ensuring that the House is able to perform its constitutional mandate is worth commending, and I take this opportunity to extol you for your patriotism. Mr. Speaker, as you are well aware, during recess, honorable members did not idle about, but continue to perform their constitutional obligations to the people they represent. Members take the opportunity to visit their constituencies and interact with their constituents and also solve their problems. I entertain no doubt that honorable members were able to make time to rest and also to relax in order to be refreshed and renewed for the arduous task and responsibilities this meeting may present. The Speaker, having said so, let me proceed to state that there are a number of priority business to be transacted by the House, including bills to be laid, loan agreements, mining leases and commercial agreements, instruments and requests for tax waivers and import duties, etc. Mr. Speaker, we have as much as 24 bills that have been referred to committees. Again, Mr. Speaker, we have statutory report that ought to be laid and considered by the House. Upon my count, we have 11 of these. Mr. Speaker, the need to address the affirmative action bill has already been echoed by you, and I would encourage our colleagues who are in charge of this important bill to do all they can to deliver on their mandate. Mr. Speaker, looking at the above business and others waiting to be programmed, my colleagues will agree with me that we have a Herculean task ahead of us in this third meeting of the fourth session. I shall humbly encourage our working committee chairpersons and ranking members to expedite actions on various referrals already before them and also prepare to receive new referrals as the Speaker may so direct. Mr. Speaker, let me concede that we do not have a perfect system. Ghana is not a perfect country, but we have made some progress. In the field of education, Mr. Speaker, at the time this government assumed office in 2017, we had around 800,000 of our children in school. Today, due to the implementation of the free SHS, we have 1.4 million Ghanaian youth in schools. Mr. Speaker, many are those who, because their parents could not afford, they had to stay home. Today, government has added TVET to the free SHS policy. So technical education is free. I always look back at my colleagues I completed BEC with, who had distinction but could not have the benefit of secondary education. Their lives are wasted. I was privileged, Mr. Speaker, to have benefited from a bursary by Parkway Sindom when I was in final year at St. Augustine's College. Today, I've had the benefit of secondary education. I stand here as a representative of the people of Ifutu. But what about those who were good, who were knowledgeable, who had the intelligence, who had what it takes to benefit from secondary education, but their parents could not afford? Indeed, this government rose up to the call. The call was an aspirational call, but today, this government has made free SHS a possibility, and Ghanaians are benefiting. I believe that we shall together work as a people to address the challenges in the educational sector. Suffice to state, Mr. Speaker, that we have seen massive infrastructural development in our various secondary schools, especially in our vocational technical institutions. All the 58 vocational technical institutions have been well equipped with new hostels, administration blocks, and machinery. All are there for us to see. Mr. Speaker, this government acknowledges that our people face various forms of challenges. It is in the light of this that history will remember this government as the only government in this Fourth Republic ever to reduce electricity tariffs. In 2018, Mr. Speaker, the government of Ghana announced various tariff reductions ranging between 18 to 30%. It's a matter of record. Between 18 to 30%. This has never happened in the history of this country. Mr. Speaker, no doubt we face an election in 2024, December 7th. We know the work that the Electoral Commission is doing. They are not a perfect institution. They may have challenges. But when it comes to them, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the registration exercise they recently conducted, it is clear that they did better than what happened in 2016. In 2016, Mr. Speaker, the Electoral Commission limited its registration to only 8 offices. To only 8 offices. In this registration exercise, apart from 8 district offices, additional centers were created. So this exercise was far better than what we experienced in 2016. But perhaps, Mr. Speaker, let me rely on the veritable words of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. when in 2016 he encouraged Ghanaians, quote, let's not overly criticize the Electoral Commission. Let's have faith in our Electoral Commission. Let's have faith in our Electoral Commission. Relying on these veritable words, I shall encourage all of us as Ghanaians to have faith.
Honorable members, let's listen to the leader. Please. Majority Leader, you may continue.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your protection. Mr. Speaker, we are all beneficiaries of democratic governance, and it is incumbent upon us to ensure its sustenance and continuity, and this can only be achieved by engendering the trust and confidence of the populace in the process. Democracy has brought so much benefit to this country, and that I expect that every well-meaning Ghanaian citizen will strive to protect and ensure the peace and harmony we enjoy today is sustained for tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, the situation where elected members of this august house go to the media or resort to the use of other platforms to attack independent constitutional bodies and agencies in a manner that is unbecoming should be a thing of the past. I do not think that I need to remind honorable members and civil society of the happenings around us where the gains of democracy are increasingly being rolled back through military adventurism, coup d'etats, and terrorism, which is as a result of these unguarded commentaries and statements by persons and officials of state who should have been working to protect and safeguard the practice of constitutional governance. It is imperative that we avoid any incendiary statements and accusations that can harm our democracy and the peace and unity we enjoy. Let us endeavor to preserve and protect our democracy so that we can reap the gains and benefit thereof and bequeath to the future generation a prosperous and a peaceful Ghana. Mr. Speaker, as the House is already aware, a successful by-election was conducted in Ejiso constituency in the Ashanti region, where our colleague, Kwabena Boateng, was elected as a member of Parliament. The member was duly sworn in during the recent recall sitting in accordance with the Constitution and other standing orders of the House. Again, I take this opportunity to welcome him to this august House and to encourage him to make an impact in this House. Mr. Speaker, admittedly, any opposition party may decide not to agree with the ruling party, and our democracy is no exception to this development. Nonetheless, even in our disagreements, we must put the welfare and well-being of our people first and eschew any act that will deny our people the benefits they are likely to gain from our work as parliamentarians, which is our utmost duty. We must understand that no parliament can operate without cooperation and consensus building, and these must be our guiding principles. Whether in opposition or in government, democracy is supposed to yield positive dividends to the people, and we, as elected representatives, have a key role to play in this regard. We must therefore live up to our responsibility. Mr. Speaker, let me remind colleagues that as a result of the standing orders that we adopted, there will be the need for us to reconstitute committees of Parliament. Leadership has put its heads together, and very soon, I'm sure that we would lay before this House the new committees for us to proceed to do our work as a House. We may have challenges as a country, Mr. Speaker, but it is possible to traverse, remain strong, and come out as a people and keep our democracy. Mr. Speaker, without more, I shall thank you and thank my colleagues for their kind audience.
So you've been watching live proceedings from Parliament. It is the third meeting for this session, and according to the Speaker, the House is expected to rise at the end of July. But they have a lot to discuss, about 80 bills, instruments, and referrals that the House will have to deal with. And again, the Speaker made it clear that the House intends to engage with the Electoral Commission, the NCCE, the presidential candidates of the various political parties, President Akufo-Addo, the Council of State, in a way to come to some agreement on the way forward in terms of ensuring a peaceful conduct of the 2024 general elections. And we heard both leaders, the minority leader, Casey Latofosem, and Alexander Afenyamarkin, the majority leader, all encouraging members to work towards ensuring that we protect the democracy that we have. And I'm sure that in the coming days, we'll have more to digest on the matter that came on the floor this morning. Also this morning, before the House reconvened for the third meeting, the majority leader, Alexander Afenyamarkin, at the news conference, told the media that government intends to lay a bill in the House that will seek to give legal backing to the free senior high school program, and then to ensure that beyond 2025, it will still continue to be, a program or a policy that will ensure that access to free senior secondary school will be guaranteed and funding will be guaranteed for the students as well. But how is the NDC thinking this? Let me bring in Peter Nochukoto, the ranking member on the Education Committee. We'll also be speaking to Dr. Peter Antipati, Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. But let me start with the Honorable Peter Nochukoto. Honorable, you're welcome to the port. So, 6 months to end the Akufo-Addo administration. They've made it clear that they will be coming to Parliament with a bill that will seek to give legal backing to the free senior high school program. And of course, your committee will have a lot of work to do around this. First, your initial reaction to government position on the free SHS.
Yeah, thank you very much. And good afternoon to your viewers. Honestly,
we are losing you briefly, Honorable. Yes, Honorable, yes. Yes, please go on for us. Yes, please go on. We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please, please go on.
Yeah. According to Article 25(1)(b), it is stated that I quote.
Again, we are having technical issues with our connection to the ranking member on the Education Committee. Let me see if I can bring in Dr. Peter Ante, if we have him on the line. So whilst we try to work around this, see if we can rather raise them on the phone, because it looks like the Zoom is giving us some challenges this afternoon. Yes, so Dr. Peter Ante, good afternoon. Right. So, Honorable Nochu, you are making a point there. Please go on.
Yeah, I was saying that there's a constitutional provision for free SHS in the Constitution. And that's why in 2015, President Mahama introduced the free senior high school on progressively free approach system, meaning that maybe in the next 3-4 years, it will be fully rolled out. So that was what we started in 2015. Then in 2017, this government
Right. Again, the challenge there in sustaining connection to Honorable Peter Nochu for this conversation on the free senior high school program. And we'll see if we can rectify this and have this conversation through another means. But illegal mining, unfavorable weather conditions, and smuggling activities have compelled export revenue of cocoa to fall by some $500 million as the country's annual production number continues to tumble. Now, this was contained in Bank of Ghana's summary of macroeconomic and financial data for May 2024. It is coming at a time when the cedi is struggling to hold grounds against major trading currencies, having lost more than 20% of its value to the dollar since the beginning of this year. So how will Cocoa Board tackle the challenge of low yields? My colleague, Faustina Safo, has been finding answers from the head of public affairs at Cocoa Board, Fifi Buafu.
The revenue is raised basically from export of cocoa. And when there's low exports, it affects the revenue stream coming in. And cocoa production this year is pretty obvious that production this year compared to previous years, we've not had a good year. The reason, as you indicated, is one from the effect of El Nino, two has to do with smuggling, the third one has to do with the effect of the soil-issued viral disease, and then the fourth one also has to do with illegal mining. So these are basically the main reasons or drivers that have seen the low productivity or low production this year compared to previous years, hence this shortfall in terms of revenue from cocoa.
Let's take them one by one. You talk about illegal mining, which I'm very interested in. How has it impacted cocoa production so far? What figures do you have? Well,
the team is out there to undertake some study. So it is difficult to put figures to it. But yes, illegal mining has affected cocoa production. It comes in different forms. Firstly, there are farms which have been converted to illegal mining sites. So hitherto these farms were producing cocoa. They are no more producing cocoa today. So suddenly it will have an effect. The second part is also some farms have also been cut off. Access to the farms is very difficult now for the farmers to access these farms. The illegal miners actually, they dig holes. That makes it difficult for the farmers to cross these heavy holes that blocking the access to the farms. So that also affects them. The other side is also the farm hands these farmers hire to help them on their farms. The illegal mining is within the cocoa communities. Hitherto, they were paying the farm hands some amount of money. When the illegal mining is introduced into that community, it becomes difficult for the farmers to compete in terms of hiring these farm hands to help them on their farms. Because when they go to the illegal mine site, how much they make, they do not find the same amount when they work for the cocoa farmers. So the farmers do not get the farmers. I remember I had a conversation with a cousin of mine. She's a lady, a cocoa farmer. And she says she was actually struggling to get farmers to help her harvest the cocoa. Because the youth in the community prefer to go to the Galamsey sites. And then she has to, on her own, harvest the cocoa. It has an effect. So that's another challenge it brings to the farmers. The cost of production is also increased as a result of the illegal mining in these communities. The cost of production, because I've already indicated this on your network before, farmers will have to spray their cocoa farms because the water bodies along these areas have been polluted. So they have to carry water from home to go and do the spraying. I talked about the farm hands. So what the farmer will have to do is to increase, probably double, or increase the amount paid to the farmers to help them on the farm. It affects the cost of production. So it has its effect on cocoa production generally. But I would say that among all the factors that has resulted to the low production we see this year is the El Nino effect.
Tell us more about that effect.
So El Nino is a weather condition, and it happens within a time interval, according to geographers, between a time interval of about 10 years. What happened is that we experienced heavy rainfall pattern at a time we're not expecting it. And that led to some of the cherries falling. And then we got into a season where you expect some level of rainfall. It did not happen at the time, but rather saw a very severe harmattan. I think there was a recording of the highest harmattan we've experienced or the world has seen some number of years now. And that led to the productivity of the farms. I remember one time I said on your network that weather effect has had an impact on low production, and then some people were making fun of it, but it will be very unfortunate if someone downplays the effect of weather on agriculture commodity, especially when you rely on rainfall agriculture, like we do in our country. So in a situation where we had a very severe harmattan, suddenly the effect on production is huge and very significant. And that is what has contributed largely to the production numbers we see this year. And this, I will also make the point that it is not just limited to Ghana. Côte d'Ivoire is going through a similar situation among other producing countries. And indeed, the highest state are the West African countries. And you know, between Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, we are the biggest producers of cocoa. We are experiencing that. So this is what largely has led to the production numbers we see today. The other factor is also the cocoa swollen shoot virus disease. The cocoa swollen shoot virus disease has been with us for some time now, but it started spreading widely, I think from 2016, 2017. So government took a decision, and the decision was to treat these farms. When we say treat, what it means is that you cut the cocoa trees down. When you don't cut it down, the spread continues. Unfortunately, as we speak, we do not have any chemical treatment that is able to treat farms that have been affected by swollen shoots. So we had to do that. Cutting all these farms were all contributing, not in a significant form, but in some level of cocoa. All such farms, or most of those farms, have been treated. When you treat them, their production to the mainstream is lost. You don't have them. So apart from the farms not doing well because they've been affected by the swollen shoot, all the farms you've treated, you've also lost the cocoa you were getting from these farms, unless these farms start producing.
All over again. I know that you have been on the grounds trying to mitigate the impact of smuggling, but how successful has that been? Well,
there's some level of smuggling still ongoing. The efforts are also ongoing to make sure that we deal with the issue of smuggling. But indeed, if there are those who say that every arrest you make, there's a likelihood that 10 times that has gone through the system. So, and if you look at the report we get, every week there's an arrest. Every single week, and sometimes more than one, there's an arrest. So if we are to believe the assertion that every arrest you make, 10 of them have scaled through, then it should tell you the impact it is having on the industry, because there have been several arrests across. Indeed, some of them have been successfully prosecuted, some of them.
How many of them?
I think about 5 persons are now in jail, serving between 5 to 7 years jail term. As a result of smuggling. There are several cases in court currently, and these people are smuggling. There are those who raise the question that, so why are they smuggling? And indeed, we get that a lot. The smuggling is largely because between Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, we do the forward sales. And then the forward sales is a way of mitigating risk, and then also being able to have a secured funding for the year. But as we do that, in an unusual year where you see a price increase like we're experiencing this year, it gives room for people who want to sell on the spot to do so. Because yes, Ghana, we had signed some contracts and we are supposed to deliver. So every cocoa we take today, we have to use it to fulfill the contract we've signed. With these smugglers, every cocoa they get, they sell it on the spot at the prevailing world market price. And the price is where it is today, largely because there's low production in Côte d'Ivoire and in Ghana. And between the two countries, every cocoa you get, you are using that cocoa to service your contracts.
Right, so that was a conversation on the cocoa industry and what Cocoa Board is doing to make the industry more viable again. Now, we're going to take a short break here on the pod. When we return, I will take you to the court because there's a new development on the Richard Japa tape. We have the Attorney General and Sami Gyamfi reaction to the decision of the Court. Stay right there for that latest development.